All right, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the January 15th, 2025 Township Board of Supervisors meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. In attendance is myself, David Gerstenhaber, Vice Chair Donna D., and Supervisors Don Dowling and Betsy Odgers. Also in attendance are Township Solicitor Guy Donatelli, Stan Corbett from ACOM. I don't believe Ron Reagan is on. Township Operations Manager Jeff Eastburn, and Township Secretary Stacy Hollis. And I don't believe Melissa has joined us. 4, 6, 8. And there are about 8 members of the public in attendance. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. So before I open the floor to public comment, we wanted to address some comments that are being made about the township and employees of the township on social media. And so we've drafted a comment and I'd like to have Donna read that comment.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, so it's come to the board's attention that there have been social media posts from a former member of the township committee, which references her treatment as a committee member and the treatment of other females within the township. The Board of Supervisors would like the public to know that when the board was first approached by this volunteer, the board took the matter seriously, reviewed the volunteer's position as it was developing, and reviewed the facts and circumstances surrounding the events and the volunteer's request. It was suggested that the volunteer bring another person to the planned meeting if she felt uncomfortable. The volunteer was informed that it was not practical to include additional township staff in meetings because they were engaged in other activities. The board continues to express its confidence in and support of all of its administrative staff. Its belief that none of its employees were in any way involved in any improper conduct, and wants to emphasize that all employees and volunteers, regardless of their gender, in this township are treated with equal respect and dignity. If you would like to see the public conversation of this issue, some of it was captured during a portion of the November 20th, 2024 Board of Supervisors meeting, what was recorded and uploaded to YouTube. After this comment, I would like to say that the board considers this issue closed. So thank you for giving me the time to make this comment.
All right, thank you, Don. I appreciate that. So now I'd like to open the floor to public comment. Public comment may include any comments relating to tonight's agenda items. Commenters must state their name and whether they are a resident of the township or a non-resident taxpayer in the township. If you do not identify yourself, your comments will not be included in the official minutes. Do we have any public comment? Okay, not hearing any, I'll pass it over to Donna.
Okay. All right, so I'd like to make a motion that the board approve the December 18th, 2024 Board of Supervisor meeting minutes. Could I have a second for that? Oh, thanks, Dawn. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Okay, motion carries 4-0. And then I make a motion that the board approve the January 6th, 2025 Board of Supervisors organization meeting minutes. Second for that?
I'll second
Okay,
that.
David, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries 4-0. Okay, I'm going to take Jim's.
Yes, I'll take Jim's. All right, I now would like to read the monthly report of the township financials for the month of December 2024 and year to date. The December 2024 Treasurer's Report includes the following disbursements: the general fund with disbursements and transfers of $78,534.88, the Park and Recreation Fund with disbursements of $1,525.96, the Open Space Fund with disbursements of $5,350.16, the Capital Reserve Fund with disbursements of $0, the Emergency Services Fund with disbursements of $70,613.52, the Fire Hydrant Fund with disbursements of $580.80, leaving a balance in all funds totaling $2,628,924.92. I make a motion that the board approve the December treasurer's report. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Donna. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries 4-0. Betsy.
Thank you. The zoning officer's report. This report was compiled by the Township Zoning Officer, Mark Gordon. In the month of December 2024, there were 9 permits issued for $1,900 in fees, $0 in miscellaneous fees, $0 in recreation and open space fees, 0 in impact fees were collected, and 15 inspections were performed.
Thank you. All right, business, Donna.
Right, so we're going to start off with the MS4 discussion. Jeff, I don't believe Ron's online, right?
He is not.
Okay, so what I would suggest, maybe unless you have some feedback on the grant strategy, that we just put that on hold. Is that okay?
I have a little bit of an update, a 10-second update on
Okay,
that.
so why don't
but
you go with that, and then I'll make another request to the board.
I have been in contact with Pannoni Associates as well as Ron Reagan. So there will be some grants announced, probably come April, May, June. We don't know, what the exact standards are for that grant, but those grants, but we are looking at those. So we're looking for grants constantly. But we don't anticipate hearing anything back until the fall of this year regarding the LSA grant that we applied for earlier this year.
So Jeff, I kind of like to get in front of some of these things. So when will Pannoni come to us and talk to us about these grants that would be available in April, May, or June?
Once they know what the exact standards are.
Then they'll come to us.
Then they will come to us. So Ron and Nate and I are in contact with each other every week.
Okay, great. Okay, so then, just for the board's knowledge, if you looked in your books, we did get, a copy of the, permit from DEP. So that's a really big development. We actually have it. But it's interesting as you look at it. It's, we spend so much of our time talking about the projects and how much the projects cost and how we're going to budget for them. And that was time well spent. And we talked about getting grants to help us pay for these projects. But also in the book, if you look in Appendix D and Appendix B, there's a bunch of stuff that we need to do as a township. A lot of it has to do with education, making sure the public is aware of pollution and pollution control. There's I know, Dawn, you do that monthly the quarterly newsletter. It's probably a place we can put some of this information. So what I would just suggest, if the board's okay, we take the February workshop meeting and bring Ron here and just go through. I mean, I'm sure this is not his first rodeo, right? He's probably can do half the stuff in his sleep, but just go through it as a group and say, okay, we need to make sure we have, we're thought about this thing for the public communication, or we need to do this, and kind of put a plan together. One of like Stan's table, Stan, you just lay out what the different things need. I know you're not involved in this, but it's like kind of a table saying this has to be done, because it all has to be done prior to the annual report. At least the annual report you'll have to report on progress in these various categories. So we can identify the categories, maybe do some little brainstorming of how we can meet some of these requirements. And I don't think they're hard. I think it's just a matter of doing them, and just make sure that we manage that. So February workshop meeting.
Sounds good to me.
Like to introduce Guy Donatelli for the solicitor's report.
Start again.
All right. Sorry about that. So without all the frills and dressings, we've been discussing with Lexington Point a modification of the wastewater treatment plant to provide for two things. One, allowing some testing so that the developer can satisfy itself that the system is or will operate when it's ultimately turned on. However, with a recognition that that testing does not start any clocks or provide any rights or obligations to any of the other parties in the other parties to the agreement. Also, to assure that when the wastewater treatment plant is falls under some operational control by the township, that every unit owner, all 38 units, recognize their obligations to pay the rates necessary to operate that system. And Lexington is going to secure, or we hope we're going to agree that Lexington is going to assure that all 38 units have provided that acknowledgement. So there has been, since Friday, a lot of work done to arrive at language that is satisfactory to Riley and me, the two lawyers. I think we've done that, and I have a draft of that language that the board has seen. I know that there is one wrinkle. There are 4 lots that have not provided the acknowledgement or recognition of the obligation to pay rates. I have asked Riley in an email that I sent about 25 minutes ago, because I didn't see his 6 o'clock email until I got here, that we would like his client to go to those 4 units and do that. So that currently is the state of the amendment. The 2 issues that that amendment was designed to put in place, I think, are documented properly. And I have asked Riley to go get those other 4 acknowledgements, because that's always been the brass ring for this board as far as its comfort level to begin some operational control and a billing for that. So that's my report on Lexington. I think I'm happy to answer any questions. I would be happy to hear from my colleagues on the other side if they were interested in confirming or denying or modifying what I said, or whatever Ms. D would like to discuss.
Yeah, so I do want to make a comment on this. So, and hopefully Lexington Point, we all agree. So, just a slight amendment to what you said, Guy. So for the board, there's 38 houses. So we all keep that in mind. There's 38 houses. Lots with, okay, potential, very good. So there's 38 lots. Of those lots, based on what I'm understanding, 15 houses have been completed. One is the model. And then and out of that 15 houses that have been completed, based on my numbers, 7 have not signed the disclosure agreement. So, but of those 7, 4 are the new owners. So that's the difference. And so when I think about the challenge, and I'm not saying this is easy, the focus is going to be on those 7 that haven't signed, because you're going to get the ones that haven't moved in yet, or you're going to get, you're getting them now, right? So it's really going to be the 7 that have not signed, and the ones that may be a little bit more challenging, or the 4 that have bought a house from somebody else who initially bought a house from you. But it's so I just want to put in context to the board, we're not talking about 38 lots with 38 owners that are saying, no, I'm not paying my bill. We're talking about, worst case right now, probably 7 that work needs to be done on them. So I think we agree on that. So I want to put that in context. The second thing I'd like to put into context, and I thank Stan for bringing this up to us. And Stan, I want to congratulate you and whoever else helped you write this agreement, because it's an excellent agreement. In that agreement, you put in there, or whoever wrote it, that there's a 5-year window, that once we take over, we, the township, take over, I think it's dedication of the wastewater treatment. If there is a time when we're not able to pay the cost of running the thing is more than the money we're taking in, developer has agreed to deal with that. So that's another cushion that's given to us, that I appreciate you guys agreeing to do that, but I appreciate you being smart enough to put it into the bill. So I'm hoping, with that in mind, when we talk about this amendment, that's really important to the developer, and that what that allows them to do is test the facility, that we can agree to do that, because we have now in this agreement, the developer agreeing to do what he needs to do to get this information from he'll do it for all 38, but definitely get those 7 that are not there yet. If there's any kind of lawsuits, they'll manage that, and we're indemnified from that. And then if all else fails, we have that 5-year window. So I just want to, and based on all that, and I've been the big problem for a while, I think this is a good agreement, and I would suggest we signed it. So did you want to make a comment?
Okay, good. Okay, all right. Mickey Thompson from Keystone Custom Homes, Vice President of Land and Council. So I just want to explain some mechanics. We have reached out to these individuals, so it's not as if we have not been contacting them. When they signed the original agreement with Keystone to purchase the land, we had disclosures that were in the contracts that said that there would be a wastewater treatment plant that will be operated on them, and they signed that disclosure. So we think we're protected with that. Further, we have an HOA that had the declaration, and the declaration also explained that there was a wastewater treatment plant, and those individuals signed off on that. Then, with the township's request, we went and further tried to get another set of disclosures that this is going to be happening, and we had a pretty good success rate of that. Again, there were some holdovers there. And then later we sent a certified letter saying that this was the process that was going on. This is the window. And I think you've seen that letter as well. So, we've gone a route here. So these people have been contacted, and, quite frankly, because the wastewater treatment plant's not in operation right now, the HOA doesn't really have any leverage to go after them, because we can't litigate an issue that hasn't occurred yet. So we have to get this going down the path so that when we're ready to turn this over, and if the neighbors or owners choose, not to participate in paying their fair share of this sewage, then we would have the ability as a HOA to file suit and go after them. So this is part of the process, and we have tried. We have new home advisors that have contacted, knocked on doors. Some of these individuals don't live, obviously, in the community because our homes aren't built yet. So there's been a process, and we're going through that actively. We've done a lot of work. And one thing I'd like to hand the guy tonight, I'm sure you could share this. What I've tried to show, I sent this little chart around to the township today with Guy and Stan, and it kind of demonstrates, what the efforts were. But I have a copy of like the signature page of the contract, first page of the contract. So you could identify which of these lots have a signed contract. The ones that have signed disclosures, we've attached the disclosures. We've attached certified mailings. Now, we didn't send certified mailings of disclosures out to people who've already signed the disclosures. So obviously that's that. But, I have that. And then obviously on here, the ones that say, not available or not, we haven't built yet. We don't have a contract yet. So as you mentioned clearly, there wasn't 38 individual contracts here. There's only the ones that have actually signed. So that's what I'm going to hand the guy, so you at least have evidence that this is the process we've tried to take on as Keystone to try to resolve this issue. I appreciate the time that Guy has spent and Township has spent in getting this to this point. Obviously, a difficult challenge ahead of us to try to turn a negative into a positive for some of these individuals who have not signed disclosures yet, but that's what we will be doing.
So the ones that I'm more concerned about are those seven, right? Or is those four out of the seven? And those are all, they have homes. So
Yes.
they're
And-
built houses.
And they also should have taken title subject to the declaration, the HOAs that was established at the start of the community. So they would have been aware, had notice of all this too. So it should not be a shock that at some point their sewage was going to be a charge for them.
And so Guy will look at that to make sure that actually, there is proof of that. So he'll look at that. But the other question I have, I was aware that some of them are saying there's going to be a lawsuit. So because anything there with that?
We've not heard from any attorney, anybody at this point.
There's no ongoing legal.
As counsel for the company and managing.
You
this
should know.
committee, I would know at this point, and there's nothing. There could be, I can't guarantee that there wouldn't
Right.
be, but.
I got an email from Riley around 6 o'clock that said there was not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
And if there was, I just want to make sure the board knows you've agreed to manage that. So that's also
Yep.
part of this agreement. It would not fall on us. So
No.
that's good.
no, I mean, we may need in the future to have you sign on as a co-litigant because obviously the money that is not being generated is not coming to the township for you to operate it. So there may be a need for that because the judge might say, well, what's, why are you harmed here? So that might be the case, but we'll do our best to take care of that.
So Guy, if you could look at the documents and just make, particularly those houses that you feel comfortable, I know you can't guarantee that they're going to pay the bills, but you can say, look, they signed this disclosure, they signed that disclosure. We at least have something to fall back on to say that, yes. And I, like I said, I'm particular about those seven houses, the four, which are the new ones. Because I'm pretty confident you're going to get the other ones because if they want their house built, they're going to want to sign.
Well,
The disclosure
and the
agreement.
other thing is, the HOA/the township will have the ability to shut off services or lien or whatever it is. Well,
We're not going to shut off service.
Well,
You can't.
but you can lien and you can go after because this is a municipal service the township is providing. And if someone's not paying it, it could be trash service, could be whatever it is. You have that ability. We may need to help exercise that ability with the indemnity that we're signing in order to accomplish this.
I'm not a lawyer, you guys are the lawyers, but if there's a lien, liens usually don't get paid till they sell. But that means we could have a shortfall of funds. But once again, as I told the board, there's a 5-year window that you're covering us anyways.
Mhm.
So once again, you're on the hook.
Mhm.
So, and so it helps. It helps us. Okay. All right.
So you have some reading material.
Yes.
You want to hand it to me? I'm
Yes.
not going to do two things at once, but I'll,
This is something just to show proof that.
okay.
We have contracts, we have disclosures, we have sent certified mailings, and once the township agrees to the budget and what the monthly charges or quarterly, yearly charges would be, then we would then take that and mail that out to all of those individuals as well. Yep.
Any comments, any questions?
So what's our next steps here? We are going to call for a motion or?
Yeah, so assuming everyone doesn't have any questions or I would.
So my answer is 29 packets here, not 38. 29.
Yes.
Because some of them aren't contracted.
Fair enough. That's
And
it.
then,
That's
of
the answer.
course, yeah, and of course, I didn't add the model home, which
This
is
is empty.
yes.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah, and they're all numbered
Got it.
from what lots there are and
Okay.
everything, so.
Let me tell you my favorite lots after the meeting. The ones I want you to make sure.
Mhm.
So I get the question that I have, and I get you, I don't want, maybe we can't really speak for the residents who are in disagreement. What is their position, that they don't want to pay for sewering, or that they expected that they would be able to manage that themselves under their own HOA? Is there any indication about what that issue is, or we're not sure?
I don't know,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
because obviously the HOA isn't collecting fees right now because the treatment plant is inoperable.
Right.
So, and there was the transition from when it would be operating, the HOA is managing all the expenses for the community, which this would be included in that until such time as it's transitioned to the township.
Right.
The other thing I did want to remind, and I thought this is, once again, Stan, brilliant job. If there's multiple steps here. So I looked at it as 4 key steps. The first step is this startup test. This is what this whole agreement is about, allowing Lexington Point to do this test with DEP inspection, just to make sure that everything's working. So that's milestone one, that if we can sign this agreement, they can get going on that. The second one is putting it in service. So it's called system startup, placing the system in service. So that's another key milestone. And then once the system's in service for 90 days and everything's going really well, then a certificate of final completion will be issued by, I guess, by you, Stan. And that's another key milestone. So keep that in mind. And then we have milestone 3, which is operational control to the township. So then we start putting out fees and collecting money, and we have the operational control. But it's not until a period of time later that we actually have the dedication of the wastewater treatment plant to the township. So there's multiple steps that allow us to gradually get into this groove of managing this. And I think it's really good for the township because it is new for us to be able to go through these various steps. And it's when we take over operational control, as I said before, that's when the user fees will start being charged, and that's when then we'll see where we're at with this. Hopefully everybody will pay. If not, then we'll have to figure out what's next. And
Certainly.
but we have an agreement to help us know how to do that.
Okay.
Okay, Stan, anything you want to say, or you're good?
No, I think between Mickey, Guy, and you've got it all covered.
Yeah, this part. All right, so I'm gonna try to make this motion, and Guy, you're gonna have to help me if I don't get it right. So we don't really have anything to sign yet, but I'm gonna make a motion. I hope that the board agrees to the First Amendment to revise the agreement to construct community wastewater collection, treatment, and disposal facilities. That we agree to do that, based on the fact that you will send Guy this document that you sign, and if he agrees that it's in alignment with what we saw from you in the email before, that then we'll sign it. But so I'm making a motion that we will intend to sign it, but it has to be, you have to send the document to Guy. Guy will
So-
look at it, give us a thumbs up, and then we can turn it around fast. You're not gonna wait for another meeting.
Okay, wonderful, because that was my next question. I'll have it at the guy's office, well, yeah, probably Friday if I can get FedEx there at the time. So that'll
Your
occur.
signatures, with the
And
signatures you
then
have.
once someone from the township, I don't care who it would be, let us know. But what would be the mechanism once it's signed to have DEP then start scheduling the startup for that?
The next step, I'd like to coordinate with MGK. There's some odds and ends, just some, I'll term it as housekeeping that
Okay,
need to be done out there. Some of it is just because it's been sitting dormant for quite some time. Others are just some odds and ends that were left over from the last run through we did out there. It's all, I think, relatively minor stuff, but
okay,
I'll coordinate with MGK to make sure we're getting all that done and we're ready, at which point then the township can request of DEP that they come out for this testing / startup, whatever we want to call it.
all right.
Yes.
All right. And that would be an administrative, would not need to be done at a meeting for that to be authorized, correct?
Correct.
Okay, because by the time you call someone from DEP, the time they come out there could be a significant delay of time. So whatever we could do to try to minimize that, I would appreciate.
Understood.
I think if you do your thing, get stuff to Guy gives it the okay, then Jeff will call us and say, come to the township and sign it. And we can do that when we're a day.
Wonderful.
And
Okay.
then it goes to Stan. And then you do your thing.
I'm sorry, I see the amendment having to be recorded because the underlying agreement is recorded. Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So we'll take care of that. And just for your reference, Mickey, the draft that came through from Riley came through today to us. Were you copied? Yeah.
I like to,
At 2:01. Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
Okay. Okay. One last request, and I beg your indulgence for this. I know this can't be done tonight. We have this First Amendment that I need, or the amendment that needs to be voted on. I would like to the township to consider, we mentioned this at the last meeting. I do have several home potential homeowners, or not potential, they're contracted and they're looking for permits to be released. I understand that the way the timeline is that it's not until startup at such time these permits can be released, but we're looking, official startup, not testing, that can happen. I would ask that for February, if we could come back and request at least 4 of those permits that have been into the township be released. We would, as Keystone, take the indemnify the township for any issues that would occur. It's going to take us several months to build these homes, and these people. I get contacted, and the stories are heart-wrenching because they're signing leases. They don't know when they can move into their homes. There's all these things that they're like managing their life. And I personally feel responsible for trying to help get them to a point where they can move into this community and live into these homes. And if just time is the enemy here, and if we wait till this point and wait to that point, these homes won't be delivered until 2026. And that's not what we want. So
And you want to, so Stan has an idea that it's not going to release all the homes, but could release another 4, I think it is. But do you want to?
Well, yeah, and
The board hasn't discussed this, so this is
I
just kind
understand
of.
this is
yeah,
not to be voted on tonight. I understand that as well.
yeah, there was one alternative that I'd communicated, Donna, that would release some permits earlier, 4 permits, than would otherwise be allowed per the current agreement. The current agreement, though, the next tranche of permits building permits would be released after the 90-day startup period. So plants placed online plus 90 days. I think there's no meaningful risk to the township to eliminate that additional 90-day and release those permits as soon as we've got an agreement to place the plant online, decommission the pump and haul. I don't know that timing is still going to meet the requests that we've heard from residents, but it is an improvement of the situation anyway.
Think about that. I mean, it would save you 90 days. Once the plant goes on
Oh.
startup, then we release those houses.
Okay, so but startup may not officially occur for several months from today.
Correct. So there would still be a delay of several months before any building permits are released.
Yeah. So again, that's what I'm requesting. If we would take on any indemnification of the township, if any of these individuals say, okay, we agree that we can have these building permits, we'll agree to have these houses built, we'll take on that responsibility. The hope is that these can happen concurrently. And by the time, like once the pump station or the treatment plant is operational, even though the township may not be operating it, it can still be used for its purpose, which is to collect the sewage. So those can be connected. And ultimately, the township has the ultimate, I call it the banhammer, but you have to at some point offer a CO or certificate of occupancy to move into these homes. And if it's not connected to the sewer or the treatment plant, the treatment plant's not operable, then obviously you can't do that. So we would definitely make sure that moving forward with these landowners, that would be the case, and that we would take that responsibility.
So I guess we need to talk about this as I hear what you're saying. So
Okay.
the Stan's idea is not your answer yet. That's not good
Well,
enough. I hear you.
Okay.
It's better than nothing, but it's not the answer. So,
Yep.
so what I think we all need to talk about it, but I think a concern is what if the houses are built, the plant's still not ready, and then we start getting a lot of pressure from the homeowners saying, we're going to sue you because you're not allowing us to get in the house. So you're going to indemnify us from that? Okay.
That's correct.
All right. So just the board, I don't think we can
need to
do it.
talk about it.
Yeah. Could we do it on that February meeting, do you think?
Yeah, let's have a discussion at
Okay.
the February
Well-
meeting. And I think that I think the concern here is, does this open the floodgates, right? We have an agreement, and the reason we're getting as far as we are now is that you can't progress without completing some of these obligations that were outlined in the agreement. And so the concern, of course, and we'll talk about this more in February, is all right, we let 4 houses in because understandably these folks bought homes and they want to move in. Then there's going to be 4 other people who bought homes and want to move in. And then there's going to be 4 others. And pretty soon there's going to be 38 houses, and we'll potentially have no sewer treatment plant operational, and
And
there's
they're just
issues
sitting there.
there. So I really, I think in my mind, I think Stan's stance compromise makes a lot of sense to say, okay, well, the agreement is a certain amount of operational functionality on the sewer system we've observed it. Now maybe we can release a few more of these permits, but we'll have to have a longer conversation in February to discuss each of the board's position. I think all of us need some time to think about it before we come to any conclusion.
I wouldn't, if you guys want to be here for it, but I would like to do it if it's all right with the board, the February workshop meeting, just to have the conversation, because I won't be here for the regular meeting. So if we could do it, and if you want to join us.
I would love to.
Okay.